Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Born and dead, saved by love, count my blessing from above. Though in darkness, have no fear. Light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Yeah. In my heart, I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have a vision. It's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children. They know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But remember that love, yes it will. I know. Yeah. Love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe. Sun will shine again. And love, I can hardly wait. We'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace, happiness and joy forever. Oh, yeah. One day, someday, pain will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But in the end, love will reign.
Love will reign. I'm excited to be here with you. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I'm advocating for a love greater for you and me. And I am live here emanating from the Love and Stuff community page where all the love happens and bubbles over to all of the other pages, to the Marcus R. Holmes page and all of the groups attached there and the love groups attached to the Love and Stuff community. And to those of you that are on YouTube events, Twitch TV, Instagram, and TikTok tonight. I wanted to just come on and ask you to tag 5 of your closest friends, followers, connections, subscribers, 5 of the more popular ones to join us in this conversation on grateful grief. I want to lead you through some information that I think will help you as it has helped me walk through my grief journey. And as I'm watching different social media platforms and people that I know in and around the circles of influence, a lot of people are contending with grief, especially during this time of year. But I've seen where very dear friends of mine have close friends of theirs who, in one instance, a son was shot in the back of the head. In another instance, a wonderful couple is mourning the loss of their little child. And you and I, people who are like me, who have experienced grief, have what is the continuing residue of that grief as you walk through life without those individuals. And so it isn't lost upon me that this time of year is especially difficult for many people. For me, it's difficult because I can harken back to December 15th, 2014, which was a dark day for me, and that the love of my life, my mother, my Princess Irene, took flight and made her transition. And while you would say it's natural order for parents to bury their children, I just hadn't come to a place or come to terms with the fact that heaven was her goal. I knew it was, but I wanted her to stay in the earth school longer with me. Is there anybody that feels that way about someone you love? You just wish you had more time for them to stick around and be with you. I know it sounds selfish, but it is the truth. It is the truth that many people that have lost people, and when I say loss, I mean it's a deficit for them to be absent in the body. Though to be present with the Lord is the gift, the absent with the body can be very difficult. And so you want more time, right? No time would ever be enough, but you want more time in that moment and many moments thereafter. And I know that people are walking in grief. I know that I've seen people who are, even this weekend, going to be saying goodbye to loved ones. Know someone whose aunt passed away, and then the daughter of that aunt, their cousin, passed away just weeks after that. Unexpected. And not that it makes a difference if someone's had a prolonged illness and if someone is taken away from us suddenly, the pain, the sorrow still stings rather. But I want you to know that sorrow and gratefulness can be companions. Your joy can be a companion to your grief. And I want to just share a little bit about some of the things I've learned in my journey. Of course, we've written a book called The Gratefulness Journey Every Day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life? Because we believe that you have the power to transform your life through gratefulness. And there is that book that is available for you to get on Amazon. But I talk in that book, my first book to market, I talk in that book about my journey through grief, about my journey of losing both parents, 3 of my 4 siblings, one of my best friends in the world, and experiencing a host of other things in life that could have buried my grief, or could have buried me rather under grief. But I continue today in part because of the great goodness of God and his mercy, but in part because of the practice of gratefulness. And I don't want to discount the first. Without God, I am nothing. There is nothing that I could do. There is nothing that I could be. And there certainly would be anything worth being without him. In him, I live and move and have my being. But I want to just say that the practice of gratefulness is a part of my journey. And it's a part of my journey when I am feeling joyous and when I'm feeling sad. So I want to share some things that I know will help those of you that are walking through a grief space. And I hope that you will share this with others. Tag 5 of your closest followers, 5 of your connections, subscribers, or friends, so that those persons can also gain from this grief space, gain from grateful grief. And so for me, like I said, my mother passed away. It's 10 years to this year. And if you would drop in the comments some name of someone loved one that you have lost, and how long has it been? Because it could be 10 years and feel like day one. It could be 10 years and you can smell her fragrance that someone else has, some perfume someone else has. You could see a hat or a scarf. You can drive by a location and you can be brought back to the same place as if it's fresh and happened today. So I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments across our platforms. I see folks that are on TikTok. Thank you for joining. Folks that are on LinkedIn. I said LinkedIn, but I'm looking right at it, Twitch TV. And I hope that you will click, share, and tag someone to join us. So that's the gratefulness journey every day. I just wanted to bring that up. It will transform your life. When we're thinking about grief, I also wanted to share this space because I posted earlier, the great poet Nikki Giovanni made her transition. And I hope to close with a little bit of her poetry, just for those of you that are walking in a grief space. What a phenomenal writer, poet extraordinaire she was, and may she rest in eternal peace. All right. I'm going to be sharing with you in parts from some of my notes that I've gathered from my walk in gratefulness journey, and also from the gratefulness journey every day, as well as the grateful living community of which I became a part. Father David Steindl Ross is the leader of that organization, and I've garnered quite a bit from that organization, and of course, from the most powerful book in the world, the Bible, the Word of God. So I want to start with this pretest, and I'm going to try to drop this. I hope it populates across all platforms. It's a pretest that I want you to just put your answers in the chat. All right. So just this is kind of a mini course, I think I will call it. And just this pretest, I'm going to put question by question in the chat, and I hope that it populates across platforms so that you'll be able to see it. And I want you to just take this pretest. All right. So the first question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your ability to experience gratitude or gratefulness while grieving? On a scale of 1 to 5, drop your number in the comment. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your ability to experience gratefulness while grieving? Drop it in the comments. That's the first question in the pretest, and I hope it's showing across all platforms. In case it doesn't, I will make sure that the pretest question is there. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your ability to experience gratitude or gratefulness? And we'll talk about the difference slightly between the two while grieving. Okay, drop in the comments 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I want you to take this pretest with me. How would you rate your ability to experience gratefulness or gratitude while grieving? Okay. All right. Somebody on. Okay. It has dropped in a couple of places. It's still populating, I think, on. Okay. On YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch. I don't know if you can see it on Instagram. I don't see it populating, but okay. That's question 1. All right. Question 2. What practices, if any, do you currently use to process grief? Practices could be prayer. Practices could be counseling. Practices could be working out. Something else related to alleviating your stress. So here is question 2 of the pretest. What practices, if any, or which practices, if any, do you currently use to process grief? Okay, I'm going to highlight that one. What practices, if any, do you currently use to process grief? Okay, drop in the comments whatever your response is. All right. And then question 3. Pop it in the comments. Hope you can see it across all platforms. Question 3. Can you recall a moment of joy or gratitude during a difficult time? Briefly describe it. These are the pre-test questions. If we have pre-test questions for this mini course on grateful grief. Can you recall a moment of joy or gratitude during a difficult time? If you can, briefly describe it. Okay? We're talking about grateful grief. All right? Give you a second to chime in your answers with that across various platforms. I appreciate your joining. Because I want to talk to you about just some key lessons to adopt. A grateful orientation to life. Wake up to gratefulness no matter what is happening in your life. Okay? And I want you to think about a working definition of grateful living. Okay? And there are 3 main things that I want you to adopt in a grateful living mindset, even when you're going through grief. Okay? I hope that you're tracking with me. I see you on TikTok. Thank you. 3 things. I want you to emphasize 3 things in the mindset that are required to define for you a grateful living, especially during grief. 3 aspects of the mindset of noticing, the mindset of appreciating, and the mindset of being present. Okay? The mindset of noticing, the mindset of appreciating, and the mindset of being present. The late Nelson Mandela practiced gratefulness and gratitude during his imprisonment by noticing small moments of kindness from others. Now, the small moments of kindness from others were not directly correlated with the imprisonment, but grateful living requires you to notice things that are out of the ordinary of your experience, to notice those small things that are happening in and around your life. Because even though you and I find ourselves in grief space, life continues to happen. Life continues to move. And so I want you to adapt and emphasize a mindset of noticing the things around you other than the grief. It does not diminish the grief. It brings your attention to the very fact that there are other things in life to notice along with the grief. It doesn't supplant the grief. It doesn't eliminate the grief. I'm not asking you to replace the grief. I'm asking you to know that the grief is not the only thing in your space. You still get to notice the flowers fading, withering. You still get to notice the sunlight and the change in the lighting in the window versus the lighting in the room. You still get to notice the things that are unrelated to grief if you're going to build a grateful orientation. And then the second is related to it in that you can begin to appreciate those things. You can also begin to appreciate not the loss, but that it once was a gain, that it once was a blessing. You know, my sweetest, sweetie girl in the whole wide world, I hadn't posted about this. She and her ex-boyfriend, good friend, I will call them, were co-parents to the cutest pit bull named Blue. And I should put up Blue's photo, but I'm sure that if Autumn sees this, she'll go to tears. So I may put the photo up later. I don't know. But Blue had to be put down very recently. And Autumn adored Blue. As a matter of fact, I was a grandpa, whatever you want to call it. And I adored Blue. Puppy girl Blue is what we called her. She was a blue, and her tone started to get a deeper gray, but she was blue. And Autumn would bring her over, and she would run around. She knew how to do tricks for me. She would run around in circles and then sit right by my leg. And I said, "You want some treats?" And she'd get up and run around again and sit right by my leg. And I said, "Oh, you're such a good girl, Blue girl, puppy girl Blue." And I took her in the kitchen the first time that she brought her home, and I didn't have any treats, traditional treats. So I gave her Cheerios. She tore those Cheerios up, and then she spit up the Cheerios. I said, "Well, we can't have Cheerios." But she loved Cheerios. And then she faked us out. She loved salmon treats, salmon bites, those salmon beef bite treats or whatever they call them. I went to the store and got those, PetSmart, though I'm not getting any promotion from PetSmart. And she would do the same thing. When she saw me, she would take off running, and she got smart. She would come in the door and she'd look around, and then she'd run to the kitchen. She knew where the treats were. And if Autumn went up the stairs, she went up the stairs. And even if I stayed downstairs, though she knew the treats were there, she would follow Autumn upstairs. Wherever Autumn went, she went. And I said, "Oh, puppy girl Blue, come with me." And she was like, "No, I'm going with Autumn. See you later." But whenever Autumn came into the kitchen, she danced around. She already knew the routine. And Autumn said, "No, you had enough treats." And of course, in the grand pup style, I had to override Autumn and give her treats. When Autumn came down the stairs, she was home for the holiday, and she came down the stairs in tears, just heartbroken when she learned that Blue had to be put down. I thought of this grateful living space of appreciating the moments that you have and have had with those that you love. So you got to define grateful living by emphasizing this mindset, not just of noticing things that are extraordinary or out of the space of grief, but also appreciating them and appreciating the time that you had, which means you have to rehearse your memories. A great preacher once says, "What death cannot steal from you is your great museum of memories." So you must rehearse those memories of appreciating the time that you had. And in adopting that mindset, when you start to appreciate, you create and foster an environment of appreciation where you began to look at all the wealth that you have around you, even in a dearth, even in a desert of loss. So you got to emphasize this mindset of appreciation. And then third, in defining grateful living, the third part of the recipe, I say, is emphasizing, creating, cultivating this mindset of being present. See, oftentimes in the grief space, what we might tend to do is that we might tend to take things, do things, and be involved in things that numb us to being present. Has anybody experienced that? You said, "I just need a drink. I just need a puff. I just need to get under somebody. I just need to get on somebody," right? You use something to numb the pain. But I want you to consider that a part of your grief space and creating a grateful living mindset is to be able to be present to the pain that you experience, to the loneliness, to the aching in your heart, to be present in the moment when you feel the absence of someone you love. Just sit and be present in it. You don't have to judge it. As the saying is going, we listen, but we don't judge, right? We listen and we don't judge, right? People saying we listen and we don't judge. Well, I want you to do that for yourself. I want you to listen and not judge yourself for sitting and being present in your current experience of pain. We listen and we don't judge, right? You got to be present to that pain, even if it was 10 years ago. Instead of taking something to numb it, doing something to numb it, doing something to hide it, to mask it, I want you to be present in that moment when you're experiencing the flashback that takes you to the date of the funeral, that takes you to one of my dear sisters, one of her friends, it did the honor walk to walk her son, who I think was brain dead at the time, so that his organs could be donated. To be present in that moment when you relive it, instead of taking something, masking it, denying it, to be present. Yes, Rochelle, one of my best friends in the world. Click share, tag somebody. I had to do this yesterday. She said was missing my dad. Yeah, you got to be present in it, because that's how you're going to build the muscle of resilience for grateful living. And that's where this grateful grief, I know those words seem to kind of be oxymoronic, right? How could you be grateful for grief? Well, I'm not really asking that. I'm asking you to be grateful in it. Because if you're in it, you must first notice that you're not only in it, you are in the world, and grief is a part of your experience. It is not your entire world. Now, I want to pause here to say that if you feel that grief has become your entire world, I want you to get a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor who is qualified to walk you through that space. But I want to challenge you to know that grief is not your entire world, even though it feels like it's enveloping your entire world. And it's okay to be in that space. But I want you to notice that there is life happening around you, that there are other things happening, and there are metamorphoses happening around you, which means that grief is not the only space in your life. Sometimes it feels like it is swallowing you up. Sometimes you cannot think about anything else. You can't see anything else. You can't understand anything else but the pain that you're in. But I want to challenge you today that grief is a space in your life. It is not the totality of your life. So part of your mindset of grateful living is to embrace a mindset that says you notice other things besides the grief. Small things it could be. If you look outside and you notice that there's a cycle to life, that there might not be very many leaves left on the tree. I want you to just notice that. I want you to just notice the change of seasons. It was 50 degrees here in Detroit yesterday. It sure isn't today. I want you to notice that there are other things going on in and around your life besides the grief. That's all I want you to do, to embrace grateful living, to have this grateful grief. That's one of the aspects that you have to do, is embrace the noticing and then embrace the appreciation for it. And because you build this environment of appreciation, then you can begin to appreciate the very thing or person that is a loss to you, meaning they're no longer present. Appreciate the memories. Appreciate those small things that you're recognizing that are going to help center you, that while you're in grief, that's not the only thing you're in. You're in life. You're in motion. You're in love. You follow? There are more than one thing in that space. All right? Thank you for joining over there on TikTok. Appreciate you. You got to embrace these things. And then thirdly, you got to be present. That's the number one thing I would say. A lot of times in my grief space, it was hard for me to be fully present. And I had to learn to be present even in pain. Because if you don't be careful, you will use things and people to numb your pain. It's a natural thing. We want an elixir, right? We want a painkiller. We want an amphetamine. We want some fentanyl. We want some morphine. We want some crack cocaine. We want some weed or reefer, I almost said. I was dating myself. We want some Mad Dog 2020. I don't even know where that came from. We want some tequila. We want some vodka, all the brands, right? We want something. We want to get under somebody. We want to get on somebody's, right? We want something to numb the pain. And I'm challenging you, if you want to have grateful grief, you're going to have to be present when you feel it. Present to the pain, present to the loneliness, present to the broken heart. I often say losing a mother is like living with a hole in your heart. The scab kind of covers it, but every now and then the way the wind blows over that scab will make you wince. Because the mother is God's kiss to the earth, I believe. He kissed the earth with mothers because nobody's going to love you in the world like your mama does. I know daddy's love too. I love. But there's something about a mother's love. And when that love is absent, it's like that scab, the wind blowing on that muscle, and you feel it. You remember, it'll bring you back to ground one. You feel it. And when you sit in it and you can feel it, you become grateful that you can feel it, because you can't have that pain if you never loved. You cannot have that pain if you never had the pleasure of having that person in your life, to hug them, to hold them, to kiss them. It hurts like hell that they're not there. But to be present in it is to know that you have loved, and your life is better to have loved and lost, as the saying goes, than to never have loved or experienced love at all. So you got to embrace a mindset that has those pieces in it. All right. And that's important. I shared that President Nelson Mandela, right? He appreciated the small moments of kindness that people in the prison gave to him. He practiced gratefulness through that. Okay, that was a way of noticing small things, appreciating them, but yet being present in a confined existence. Maya Angelou reflects on gratefulness despite all of the trauma that she experienced in her life and adolescence. Okay, and you know that if you're on the gratefulness journey with me, one of the tools that I'm going to encourage you to use is a gratefulness journal, to write 3 things down each day for which you are grateful, even amidst your sorrow. Sometimes you will be grateful that you stopped crying 10 minutes earlier today. I've been in the shower and cried the entire time I was showering. I felt like I cried more tears than the water came down on me. And then when I noticed that there was a day that I cried less and laughed more in the shower about the voices of my siblings and my parents, I wrote that down and said, today, if no other day replicates this again, I cried only 2 minutes today. So you can be grateful for your progress through grief, and you can be grateful for where you are in your journey. And another tool in this first module, I will call it, is take a daily gratefulness pause. I like to do it first thing in the morning, when I awaken, to just lie there and be thankful and grateful for the providence of God. See, I believe that if God gives us a day to wake up to life, he's got something in life for us to wake up to. I believe that. God wakes you up in the morning. There is something in the morning for you to wake up to. And it's worth being grateful for. God, you got me in the plan. I don't understand the plan. I don't understand the pain. I don't understand the pause. I'm not moving at the rate that I want, in the direction that I want, at the time that I want, but I'm here. I made the wake up list and I'm grateful. You can set a timer to only do it for 10 seconds or 2 minutes or 30 minutes, or like me, you can use your shower time or your time in the bed, wherever you decide to do it. Do a daily gratefulness pause where you spend time just being grateful. Now, the science, the gratitude science says that if you do this every morning, you are likely to be 49 times more productive during the course of the day. It declutters your thoughts. It helps you to reorganize priorities, and it helps you not to miss the small details that matter. A gratefulness pause is a tool that you can use along with the gratefulness journal to adopt rather a more grateful orientation to life, so that you walk through life with a little bit more gratefulness instead of being just led through the lenses of grief. Remember, grief is a part of the space you're in, it's not the entire space, even though it feels sometimes all encompassing. All right. And the key takeaways from this module are: gratefulness is a choice. It's a choice that enhances resilience. You can choose not to be grateful, but you can choose to be grateful and practice gratefulness so that you are able to walk as you move through grief, even when you feel stuck. And then the second key takeaway from this module is: life's challenges don't erase the possibility of beauty. I want you to think about all of the beautiful and wonderful things about the person that you love that is now resting on the other side, that is no longer here. I want you to think about the possibility of experiencing that kind of beauty again, but in a different form, with a different person, as a reflection of a memory. See, life's challenges, grief can't erase that possibility, the potentiality that you can use those memories, that you can use them to create new paths to great relationships, new paths to build great building blocks for your family, not to replace mother, father, sister, brother, but to draw in closer with someone from the bonds of that grief, to draw in somebody close to you and be grateful that there are people left for the potential beauty of those relationships. Instead of closing yourself off because you are engulfed in grief, open yourself up to the possibility that there is beauty still remaining in the space that isn't grief. Okay, that would be all module 1. Okay, and if you're interested in this, I'll send you the ebook of this mini grateful grief course that you can look over and over and over again. I'll send it to you free. Let me know. All right, that's the first module. Module 2. Now, if we have a course with it, right? If you want me to teach a course, from my experience, I'm not a mental health practitioner, so I want to put that out there. I'm just speaking from my experience and from my connectivity to a community called Grateful Living. Okay. And from that and from my experiences, when I'm sharing with people about grief, I try to do it from a facilitation standpoint and provide them some tools to walk through. Okay. If you're interested in that, let me know. You can drop that in the comments. But I'm going on to the second module. Again, I mentioned earlier, December 15th, it will be 10 years since my mother transitioned. It feels sometimes like yesterday. And I still miss her. I miss her dressing. I miss her turkey wings. I miss her 7 upside down pound cake. I miss her hugs. I miss her fussing and her high-pitched voice. I have to go into character when I'm talking about my mother. I miss her perfume on her skin. I miss the way that she put on a hat like it was the runway in Paris. My mother loved to wear hats and suits and dresses. She was just that churchy lady. I miss all of that. And I would give a mint in gold to have it again. And so I understand even 10 years later what it is to walk through this grief space. And I know that there are those who are walking this space for the first time this year. There are those who just this weekend, I was sharing earlier that a dear friend of mine, one of her dear friends' son was shot in the back of the head. And the mother walked the honor walk as they donated his organs because he did not make it. And I can only imagine. I shared Autumn. They had to put down Puppy Girl Blue, and Autumn's heart is broken. And my heart goes out to everyone who is experiencing, a couple that I read is experiencing the loss of their child. So many people are walking through this loss in this world at this time. And this world, as convoluted as it is with pain and vitriolic rhetoric and xenophobia and racism and misogyny, it's compacted. It is compounded, I'd rather say, the experience of mental fortitude and mental wellness are at crises level. Rochelle says, I had to remind myself that while I miss those we hold close to our hearts, I have to be grateful and thankful for those that are still here. Princess Irene taught me that lesson, and I'm still learning it, Rochelle, because as I long for her, I have to remember who I still have here. As I long for Anthony, I still have you. I have to remember to be grateful for everything and everybody that I have left, as Princess Irene Holmes taught me. So thank you. Excellent point there, and I appreciate it. I'm going to head on at 9:11 to this module 2. While you're watching across platforms, TikTok, I see you. Instagram, I see you. YouTube events, thank you. Twitch TV, thank you. And of course, Facebook, I appreciate you all. Did I say YouTube? Yep. I appreciate all of you. And I hope that you will click, share, tag your subscribers, your connections, your followers, those that you know may be walking down grief's path. This is Grateful Grief, a course for those that are navigating grief. And it's a mini course. I'll be happy to send it to you in an ebook if you're interested. Drop in the comments and I will put a link together so that you can have it for free. All right. Module 2 is about practices to honor your unique experience of loss and reframe the future. Okay. And sometimes this can be tough because you don't want to practice to honor. You want the person back. You want the life you had back. You want things to go back to the way that they were, right? You don't want to do that. And there's a part in the Gratefulness Journey book where I have a chart where you look to see if what you've lost has been a gain, a blessing, or a lesson. Sometimes it's all three. And you have to begin to honor the unique parts of your experience. So the first step is that you have to honor your story. You got to share your grief story, maybe as a tribute, or write your grief story, maybe as an article. Make it a tribute to the loved one. Maybe it's an oral story. You just tell people in your group, tell people in your church, tell people at work. Honor your unique experience of loss by sharing it. Don't keep it bottled inside. Share it. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I think is really important in this practice. And I think a lot of people start doing it. We do it well at funeral spaces, at celebration of life spaces, but we need to continue to do it as a practice. And that's reframe the loss. Reframing is not removing. Reframing is not replacing. Reframing is taking a fresh look at from a different perspective or position. Okay? So you're going to explore how the person's impact continues to be present in your life, continues to shape your life. When you think about your parents, can you think about the things that they taught you and the sayings that they said that you put to practice now? And some of them you don't know why you do it, but it's because they did it. Have you ever said something to your child that your parents said to you and you're like, oh, I sound just like. That's one of the ways you explore the impact and how it continues to shape what you do, continues to shape how you live, continue to shape how you love, continue to shape how you forgive. Ain't no use of holding on to something too long because you're going to be the only one with something heavy. Some of those sayings come back to me right in the Southern drawl that my parents brought north from Mississippi. Some of those sayings shaped who I am and how I parent and how I navigate and how I forgive. So I have to continuously practice honoring them by exploring their impact. When I am making hog-head cheese from scratch, I'm hearing my dad about the amount of vinegar in the water. I'm hearing my mama say, make sure you're pulling out the teeth. I'm hearing my dad saying, that tongue ain't gonna give it ain't gonna give up. I'm hearing what they've taught me about the things that I do, which helps to bring to me straightforward that yes, I've lost their physical presence, but what they have imparted to me is reinforced every day I live. And their lives are honored, hopefully, by how I live, because they shaped the way in which I live. Reframe the loss. Reframing is not removing. I want to be clear. It's not discounting. It's taking a different perspective from a different angle at the loss. Okay? And then you might set number 3 in practicing to honor your unique experience of loss and reframe the future. You might set small, meaningful goals that align with their legacy. Just like Martin Luther King Jr.'s family, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s family used his legacy to inspire generations after his assassination, right? Or a person who's experienced the loss of a spouse might start a foundation in his or her honor. Okay? A couple of the tools that might be helpful, because if you're like me, you have tons of pictures around your home, and some are still in photo books, picture books, albums, we call them, right? Like you have on your phone. You might, as a tool, create a memory box and put in them the items that remind you most of your loved ones. You know, my mom liked to smell good, and her daughter-in-law, my sister-in-law, would sell her Mary Kay, and she had some of the fragrances she liked from that. She liked the white diamonds. I bought that for her one year. She just thought that was just, oh, it just smells like me. It's beautiful. She had a way of making you think you bought the best gifts, even if they weren't. But I still have, now one of those bottles has gone old, and I will warm it up from time to time and spray it on one of her scarves, which I kept a ton of her scarves, and they're in a specific drawer. And sometimes I'll just go to that drawer and pull out some of those things, pull out and smell those things, remember those things. Of course, I have tons of pictures, so I can go through those pictures and remember and laugh. Those are part of my memory box. You can create a box and decorate it and put in your dad's socks, or put in his pocket watch clock, or put in some memento of his old wallet, his old wedding ring, whatever it is. Collect those meaningful items that remind you of your loved one. That's one of the tools to practice to honor your unique experience of loss, to reframe the future. And then one of the things I like to do is a visualization exercise. I picture myself thriving in whatever I'm doing and giving all of the credit to them. Because if I achieve anything, and I recently was selected for a board of directors of an organization I'm really proud to be part of, and will tell you more about coming in the future, I imagine myself saying, thank you for having me this. I owe all the credit to my parents. Here's how they influenced me to do things that matter. I do things that will honor my experience, but reframe the future without them, but reframe the future with their impact. Okay. And those are two of the tools. The key takeaways is you got to remember, and people kind of mess this up, your grief is uniquely yours, and reframing it doesn't diminish it. So people are going to tell you you should be beyond it after a year. That's not your grief story. That's theirs. You should be in the mode of reframing as you move through grief, but no one tells you what your grief should look like. It's uniquely yours. And reframing grief does not diminish grief. Reframing it is taking a different posture or perspective from a different angle. Okay? It's looking at a perspective this way. No, let's reframe it. Let's turn it this way. Let's look at it this from this angle. That is what reframing to focus on the future is. Okay? And honoring a legacy, when you do honor the legacy, brings meaning and context to your sorrow. To be sorry that something happened, to dwell in sorrow has meaning when you bring a legacy to it. It also brings a solemnity. It makes it solemn. It makes it sacred. And not just a place that you go to be in pain. It brings meaning to that pain. Okay? All right. I'm going to keep moving. We're at 9:21. Almost done. And again, this is a 3-part or 3-module approach to grateful grief. I'll be happy to share it with you if you think it will be of value to you. Drop in the comments, please. Give me a copy, please. And I will share it with you in the ebook. It's yours for free. Okay? Of course, if enough of you come together and say, I really enjoy it, I want to delve more deeply into it, I'd love to do that. And again, it is from a life coach practitioner standpoint, not a medical practitioner, a mental health practitioner. Those I am not. Okay. So I want to be clear, but I'd be happy to facilitate a small or large group if you're interested on TikTok, subscribers, interested YouTube events or anywhere else. Let me know and I can set that up. But if you just want the ebook and navigate it yourself, you're welcome to try that as well. Module 3 are strategies to increase your ability to experience joy along sorrow, because joy can be a companion to sorrow. Okay? They can be companions. All right? And really in life, your life, because remember the space that you're in is grief, but it's not the only space you're in. Grief space is inside your life space. It's inside your joy space. It overlaps. So you got to explore the duality, the emotional duality of holding joy and grief together, because the person that you experienced the loss of brought you joy, and their absence brings you grief. See the emotional duality? You don't think of the person as grief. You think of the absence of the person as grief. When you think of the person, for most part, it brings you joy, right? Joy to have had such a great father or mother or spouse or daughter or sibling, right? But to know that their absence, and sometimes even how they are absent, brings you grief. So there's a duality of the emotions connected to the person and the grief space, and they can coexist. And so one of the things that you use to regulate those emotions is practicing savoring. That's number 2. Identify the small joys that you experience with that individual who is now gone and fully immerse yourself in them. It's like having an open-eyed daydream. Think of the time that you had the most recent memory that you can come across that you had fun with that person. Think of where you were, what you were wearing, when they touched you, how it felt, if they kissed you, if they punched you, if they grabbed you, if the horse played with you. Get all of those emotions and savor them. Identify the small joys and just savor them until you can almost taste them, until the hairs on your neck move, until the chills come, and fully immerse yourself in those moments. And then 3, create rituals of joy. Just like you incorporate a grateful moment or grateful pause that we talked about in module 1, you're going to incorporate daily moments that uplift you. Is it their favorite song? Is it your favorite song? Is it a favorite movie? Is it a favorite place in the house? Where can you be? What can you say? What can you do? What can you experience that will uplift you daily? You can even use the practice of savoring to create your rituals of joy. So every day you come up with a different memory and you savor in it so that it lifts you up. The power of practicing savoring is it's an amazing tool. You can practice savoring for if Sunday was the best worship experience you had in 5 months, you can go back to that, especially if you're on Facebook. You can go back and watch it and savor that moment. You can savor it in your mind, lock it in your mind. How did you feel when that high praise went forward? How did you feel when that word was spoken that you knew was just for you? And fully immerse yourself in it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and create a daily ritual of that. It's a ritual of joy. Okay. Some examples from history find that Frida Kahlo found joy in art while enduring physical and emotional pain. And another one is cultural. The Irish Wake celebrates life, even in dancing and some drinking too, while mourning the loss. There's a duality of the emotions that we are called to celebrate the one we lost, right? The tools that go along with this are the joy inventory. You know, in life coaching, I do a worry bank, teach people how to worry less. And I put those worries in 3 categories. The category you worry about something that has happened before, but you don't want to happen again. You worry about things that you've worried about before, but they've never happened before. And then you worry about things that you don't have any control over, whether or not they're going to happen. I say put lines through those last 2. Because many times we're worrying about something that has never happened and never actually will. So we're just going to put prayer on that and wait on the blessed assurance. If something's outside of your control, why worry? Pray. But if something is in your control and it happened before, you've learned the lesson to keep it from happening again. And that's where you should put your energy to come up with a plan. And each day you take a minute away from the time that you worry, because you put these worries in categories and you cross them out. Well, similar to that, you need a joy inventory. You need a list of activities that you for sure know bring you joy and integrate one into your week each week. Now, if you want to get creative, you can put your joy inventory on bits of paper and put them in a bag and swip them up. Swip them up. I don't know if swip is a word. Mix them up. Grab one out of the joy inventory and choose that joy to integrate into the week. You can take 2, 5 if you want to integrate one in every day, every work day, or 7 if you want to integrate one in every day of the week. But you need to have a list of activities that bring you joy. The second tool is what is called mindful breathing. It is we listen and we don't judge. Are you hearing that on social media? People are doing this challenge. We listen and we don't judge. And they're telling each other things about each other that the other didn't know, that might have been something that they would judge them for. We listen and we don't judge. We listen, but we don't judge. Well, mindful breathing is practicing being present with joy and grief without judging either or yourself. So you breathe in to the count of 4. You hold it to the count of 7. You exhale to the count of 4. You breathe in to the count of 4. You hold it for the count of 7. You exhale to the count of 4. And then you pause after you do that twice and be present with whatever emotions you feel around joy and grief, joy and sorrow, joy and disappointment. I shared this exercise with a young woman who was getting ready to get married. And unfortunately for her, shortly after she got engaged, her dad passed away. Her dad had taken ill, but had a brief illness that declined quickly. Of course, she had planned for him to be the person to walk her down the aisle. And when she thought about the rehearsal dinner, she began to become anxious because she knew the time was coming that her brother would have to walk her down the aisle versus her father. I had her practice this to sit in the emotions of the joy that is happening in her life in a new chapter, but the pain of knowing that her dad wouldn't be there. And after practicing this over a few days, she found this as a helpful tool to regulate the emotions, navigate the duality, the emotional duality between holding joy and grief together. The key takeaways for this module are sorrow and joy are not opposites. They're really companions. Sorrow and joy are really not opposites. They're not polar opposites as you think. They're companions. They both have in common the need for meaning to define the context. And the second key takeaway is intentionally seeking joy can coexist with honoring loss. Intentionally seeking joy can coexist with honoring loss. Those are the major modules of Grateful Grief. There are activities that you will put to use if there are more than one in a group in that module of speaking through grief with personal stories of grief. And really in that next module, it encourages you to interview someone and share brief bios. What would you say was your life before grief, your life during grief, and what would your life be if you could walk out of grief? And what can you find in common? What's different? And what is the thread of gratefulness that goes through your story or stories of grief? And that's something that you would share as a guest on someone's show. If you were a guest on someone's show and they asked you those questions, or if you were the host and you got to ask guests those questions, that's what will be done in kind of a group role play so that you get in the practice of sharing your story and see that gratitude and gratefulness are universal threads in diverse experiences, and that hearing the stories of others help you to overcome, help to inspire you, and help to guide you as you grow through grief. Okay? And there are also mindfulness meditations, prayers, and journalings that accompany the module that you can utilize. There are references, Viktor Frankl's book, The Man Searching for Meaning, on finding purpose in suffering, the book of Job from the Bible, and then Modern, which are some TED Talks on gratefulness and gratitude by Brene Brown. So these are tools and resources to enrich your journey as you learn forward through griefs. Grief can be overwhelming. And so having tools and resources to empower your continuous growth through grief. And I say growth because you don't want to stay stuck in a space in grief where you begin to think or think that there is no other space besides the grief. The grief can be the largest space in your life at a point. But as long as you know that it is not the only space in your life, you will and can recover. It's when we get so engrossed, so involved in our grief that we can experience or see nothing else, that we find ourselves in dangerous zones and places. And so tonight, as I share my grief with you, it's been 10 years since my beautiful Princess Irene, 10 years on Sunday coming. It will be 10 years since my beautiful princess took flight. And I can remember where I was when the hospital told me to get here now. I can remember how I felt getting to the hospital and wondering, was the last time that I was going to see my mother alive? And it was. It broke my heart. I still have a crater break in my heart that when the wind blows, I know she's not present. When I'm looking for unconditional love in someone's eyes, I know those eyes are not present. But what I know is that through tears and loneliness and pain, that I am grateful. I am grateful that God made a Princess Irene Holmes. And I feel like though she had other children, bless their hearts, some of them on the other side with her, she took the good ones with her. I feel like she was made just for me. She was the mother who could kiss your boo-boos away. You know what I'm saying? Every Band-Aid fit well because she put a kiss before it. She was a mother that could also whoop your tail. She was a mother that raised her inflection really rather than her voice. She'd have to really be upset to do that. But she could raise her tone in a way that you knew she meant business. She was a mother who never left you hungry. She always fed you manna from above and manna on the table. And boy, was it good. She was a mother who could darn your socks and teach you how to do it. Who would tell you, that ain't clean. I thought it was mean when she said that wasn't clean, clean it again. But she taught you to put your elbow to the work. Nothing was too big or small for her to do. And serving the master was her joy. She loved the hymn, give of your best to the master, give him the strength of your youth, throw in salvation's full armor, join in the battle for truth. Jesus has set the example. I don't forgot the rest of the words. They're going to come back to in a minute. That was her favorite, one of her favorite hymns. She was not a good singer, but she walked around the house singing hymns. She was an eternal cheerleader, always in your corner for what it was that you wanted to do. Always willing to give you sage advice and love and grace and correction. I miss her so. There are so many things I'd love for her to be able to see. Some of the things she told me that would happen actually did. And many of the things that have happened would have been wonderful, pleasant surprises for her. I love for her to be present to see how autumn has blossomed despite adversity. And I love her to be present to share in current joys and sorrows that I've experienced. But I'm grateful for every moment that I had, even when I didn't know that that time that I had was going to be fleeting and finished. I'm grateful for the laughs we shared and the tears I'm grateful for the mistakes I made while cooking that she corrected. And I'm grateful for her unconditional love. Well, before I go, I'm going to pause for a minute to just share a little bit more about gratefulness. And then I want to share something else with you that I feel is a part of that savoring that I told you about. So I don't want you to leave. I want you to stick around for just another minute while I share with you a little bit about the gratefulness journey every day.
Marcus, I want to congratulate you on Love and Stuff. I really want you to know that staying grateful and understanding the power of what it is to be operating out of a space of abundance and gratitude is the most important part of every journey of every day. So Marcus June, congratulations on this book. It's on Amazon now. That makes me so proud of you and your family and me and my family, and every single person around us gets it. So good on you for bringing it into the hands and the laps and the Kindles of all the people. Okay, so we're going to check it out. Can't wait to learn more.
I want to thank MJ from Shies of Sunset. She agreed to help to boost the book. Her husband is using gratefulness and gratitude as a practice for his anger management. It's a powerful tool if you are experiencing anger issues, grief issues, unresolved life issues. The practice of gratefulness will transform your life. So thank you, MJ from Shies of Sunset. I mentioned this technique about savoring as I was talking about these modules. And again, if you want the ebook, drop in the comments, copy please, and I will do it for free. Savoring is the memories, bringing those moments, yourself in those joy moments. And so one of my favorite savoring opportunities comes through my niece, Tammy. Now, of course, most people know and hear me talk mostly about my niece, Autumn, who is like a daughter to me, whose mom, Adrian, made her transition back in 2008. And I've been fortunate enough to serve as a second dad, as a uncle dad to Autumn. And it's been one of the joys of my life. But I have 5 other nieces, 2 great nieces, 2 great nephews, and a nephew who is the apple of my eye, right? And one of those nieces, Tamara, who's also Tammy, Tamara Lynn Williams, and her husband, Kenny, are the proprietors of Royal Cheeks Cakes and Varieties. Well, long before that, I'll go back to say that Tammy grew up around her mom and my sister. And my mom and my sister, both, my mom and her mom did a lot of baking. And so Tammy, like me and Felix, because they're close to me in age, though they're my niece and nephew, were always around the kitchen to try to get the batter. Does anybody have any experience with that? When your mom made the batter and finished the flavoring, whatever flavor she's put in the cake, she left a little bit of the batter that she didn't put in the cake pans, and you could get your spoon and each of you gets to the side of the bowl and take out as much, yep, you double dipped, as much as you could out of that bowl. We would fight over the bowl sometimes. Now, I was more likely to fight over a vanilla or yellow batter than chocolate. I like chocolate, but I love a yellow batter. Me and Felix would fight, and he would win because my mother would say, "Let him have some." He was just so spoiled. Anyhow, I digress. And then we had to get out of the kitchen because my mother said, "Don't you make my cake drop, because that won't be all that drop if my cake drops." So we had to get out of the kitchen, and we couldn't run through the house because the cake was going to drop. And so we have to go outside and play or go in the basement and play while the cake baked, right? And Tammy picked that up. I'm not a baker. On an occasion, I might bake a pineapple upside down cake. Rare occasion. I'm not a baker. But Tammy picked that up, and she is a baker. And from time to time, Tammy surprises me with baked goods. So, what came in the mail today? Some baked goods. Now, I couldn't wait until the time of this broadcast to start eating them. So, the grandpa's secret peanut butter cookies were gone in 5 minutes. And she also made me an eggnog cookie. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. She knows I love eggnog. Chef's kiss. That eggnog cookie. Now I'm going to taste a piece of the eggnog cake and a piece of, this is the, I just warmed it up because I like mine slightly warm, but this is the red velvet cookie. She sent me a slice, and this is the eggnog pound cake. I'm about to have a little bit. Now, I would love to have these in the morning with a cup of coffee, but it's nighttime, and if I have a cup of coffee, you're not going to, no one's going to want to deal with me. So I'm going to have a little piece. I'm not going to eat the whole thing in your face because I've been told that's rude. So I don't want to be rude. So I warmed it up just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that good. I'm showing it on TikTok. Mm. Mm. I'm a lover of eggnog. I'm a lover of eggnog. Mmm. Mm. Okay. That's enough of that one. I'm going to eat the rest, but I just don't want to do it in your face. And this is the red velvet. All right. I heated it just right, too, because... Mmm. Yum, 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 yum. This is retarded. I'm crazy. It's a red velvet cookie. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Okay. I just want to eat one more piece. Ooh, heavens. Thank you. Mm. 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 Okay. Go on to Royal Cheesecake and Variety. Somebody tag Tabitha Brown, because she gonna want to get this. Oh, that's delicious. Okay. Savor the moments that bring you joy, even that have the duality of the emotion of sorrow and grief. And out of them, you can build you rituals of joy to integrate into your life every day. I'm walking this grief journey with you, and I want to hear your stories. So inbox me at Love and Stuff for Marcus Our Homes or any platform, and let me know if you're ready to share your stories. I want to facilitate the stories of those of you who are ready to have grateful grief. It will help you navigate arguably the most difficult time and space in your life so that you come out on the other side whole, healthy, and ready to move forward to honor the memory the great memory of those that you have loved. I'm Marcus Holmes. Have a grateful evening. And as you go through the holidays, be kind to yourself. Give yourself grateful pauses, rituals of joy, savoring, honoring, and the space to grieve. Make sure you embrace a mindset of noticing, appreciating all that you are experiencing as you walk through grief. Honoring all of those that have been part of your grief journey in space. It's so important that when you're going through this space, that you leave room to be present and not to numb yourself to get through it. It's the easiest thing to do is to numb yourself. But I want you to challenge yourself to live through it. I'll see you soon. And I hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us on this journey in this grateful grief through this season into the next year. I do want to share a couple of important things before I go. Thank you so much for reminding me. We have some wonderful, wonderful things that have come forward. If I can find them. Well, okay, I'll try that. Okay. Well, while we're looking for that, how about that? Okay. While we're looking for that, we'll do that. Available now as we have launched a new book. We've got the Youth Long Sleeve Competitor Tee from the Color Me Beautiful brand. Color Me Beautiful is based on the book All Shades of Girl, Color Me Beautiful, that was inspired by Sonia Charisse. And I'm grateful to be the author of the book, which also is a coloring book. We've had to do some tweaking in the size of the coloring images. We heard your feedback, and we want to make sure you have a great experience, and every little girl you read to does. And so we're doing some tweaks to both the paperback and the hardcover so that you can have the best experience while they're coloring and while you're reading the story to them. It is a 7-chapter first part of the series. It introduces the main character, Charisse, who's an 8-year-old girl, and she's navigating colorism. And we're beginning to develop the other characters in this book, this first installment, what we believe will be a 3-part series, but who knows? If Oprah gets wind of this, we want to make it a cartoon, and we have a special presentation for Oprah that we hope that she will turn it right into a cartoon. So you all tag Oprah and tell her that. But you can get the Youth Competitive Tee. The Color Me Beautiful t-shirt is available as well as the sweatshirt. All of these come in multiple colors. This is the performance tee that adult women can wear. So the first one I showed you is for youth sizes, girl sizes. This is young adult and women sizes. And of course, it comes in various colors. All of those are available now. And if you scan the link, you can go to the Shopify store. All of those products are available. We would love for you to pick up the product. Thank you so much. Somebody's looking at the scan. It's available now, and I hope you will click share and tag others across platforms that will check it out. It's an amazing, amazing brand. We believe in wearing the brand you love, living the brand, and wearing it, and loving the brand. And if you want to see little girls empowered to embrace their own self-identity and to know that it has been colored beautiful, you should consider getting them one of these products. Listen, I began writing this book, one of 4 books, This is the second of 4 books that have made it to market out of the pandemic. The first 2 books I started writing before the pandemic. And the reason why this one made it to print second is because of what happened in this historic election. Within 100 days, Vice President Kamala Harris ran an excellent grassroots campaign, but it unearthed the vitriolic rhetoric that we knew was at the fulcrum of our country. We knew that there are people that are misogynistic and that would seek to devalue her. People who would say she just became Black. She's trying to pass as Black. Does that sound familiar in colorism? When fairer skinned women or men are told they're trying to pass, trying to become Black, though they've been trying to be white. Have we heard words like unqualified and DEI higher before? What are we passing down then to our little girls to believe about who they are in this world? Because your self-identity is the lens you see yourself through as you look at the world. What are we giving in value to little girls when we allow people to say that we are DEI hires? I agree. Vice President Harris was a DEI hire. She did everything impeccably to run in 100 days. And you know that is the story of Black excellence. We cannot be mediocre. We must be excellent. We must dot every I and cross every T because we're under the highest amount of scrutiny, the lowest threshold for salary because of the color and hue of our skin. We do everything impeccably. We are DEI hires. We do it all impeccably. Next time someone says, oh, you're a DEI hire, absolutely. I do everything impeccably. So I felt a sense of urgency to get this book out. That's why it wasn't perfect as perfect could be, but I got it out. And I will continue to iterate it to improve it because I want every little girl to know that whatever your skin color is, whatever your hue is, the Creator, the quintessential love, has colored you beautifully. So I hope that you will join our movement by purchasing some of the gear and getting the book for a little girl for Christmas and reading this book to her to help her embrace her self-identity. I'm Marcus Holmes. It's 9:58, a little longer than I intended to go tonight, but I'm so grateful that I was able to. And I hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us in this journey. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.